Alright, hello everyone, it's Acro, and today I want to show you this amazing indicator that no one is talking about, and in my opinion, it's simply the best indicator ever created for Bitcoin. And it comes in two parts. The first is this wave here, and so far Bitcoin has almost always stayed within this wave and never really deviated away from the boundaries, because whenever it got close to the extremes, it always coincided with the tops and bottoms of prior cycles. So this in and of itself is already amazing, but it gets even better. Here's the second part of the indicator. Those are rainbow lines based on the power law that Bitcoin is following. And here once again, BTC has always found resistance at the upper red line. And on the opposite side, the best levels to buy have always been around the blue and purple lines. And personally, I've been using it since it was released in the middle of 2024. And so far, it has been extremely accurate at predicting the price action, as you'll see later in this video. But the most interesting part is that, according to this indicator, we are extremely close to the bottom of the bear market. So now let's quickly go over why this indicator is so good and whether we can trust it or not for the coming weeks and months. Alright, so let's start with the wave part of the indicator. So the wave in itself is simply the white line in the middle, with a periodicity of 4 years based on the halvings. And it also has exponential decay, which simply means that the amplitude is decreasing over time. And when you think about it, it makes a lot of sense, because if the market cap goes higher, we should expect less volatility over the years. And then by taking the white waveline and by shifting it up and down, you create these very powerful boundaries. And so far, BTC has always perfectly bounced every time it has reached the upper or lower part of the band. And the only exception was here in 2019, where we deviated to the upside for a little while. But what's actually very interesting here is that price gets attracted back into the wave like a magnet and snapped back all the way to the bottom of the wave. But other than that, these boundaries have basically been perfect over time, with perfect touches at the top and the bottom of the band. Even recently here in February, we had a small deviation to the downside, but then we quickly came back within the bands. And actually what's very interesting is that the indicator in itself was created somewhere here in 2024. And although we have not reached the typical upper part of the wave in this bull market, we have still stayed within the boundaries of the wave, and the reactions we got along the way of the white line and the bottom support have been very impressive. And one last thing is you can notice how the bottom part of the wave has been truncated, and it has been done on purpose because that's where the historical bottoms have always formed. But actually in the settings you can turn off this lower truncation. And now you can see how the model has a lot of space to the downside each and every cycle, but so far we have never really visited these lower parts of the wave. And just to give you an idea, if we were to reach it, the absolute bottom would be somewhere around 44k based on this model. However, so far we have never fallen below, so the expectation for the current bear market would be that we do not breach the bottom of the blue line around the 56k. We are actually very close to the bottom according to this model. And if we keep following the wave, it also gives us targets for the next cycle's tops and bottoms. The top should form somewhere between 300k and 500k. And then a few years later, we can expect a bottom at around 200k. And it's modeling the symbolic price of 1 million per coin somewhere in 2032. But if we don't reach it, that will be in 2036. Alright, so we've seen how great the boundaries of the wave have been so far. But we don't have to limit ourselves to the upper and lower part of the wave. We can actually go one step further and turn on some intermediary waves here in pink and light blue that have been excellent support and resistance over the past years. So let's just quickly go over them. So let's follow the pink line. We have some support here, some resistance here, resistance, resistance, a lot of resistance here. Here we get the perfect support. Then once again, some perfect touches. And you can notice how actually the pink wave has been support a lot of times recently. And this is a sign that whenever we get close to the pink wave again, it's probably going to be a strong resistance. Because what you often get in markets is whenever you have a strong support and it breaks, then it becomes a very powerful resistance on the way up. So the pink wave is actually a very great support and resistance. And the same goes for the light blue here. You can see how great the support has been over the years with great touches. Right here, perfectly maps the bottoms. And that's really when you go on the daily that you can see the power of this wave with all the perfect touches here. So just this wave alone is already an amazing indicator, but it gets even better when you add the rainbow lines. So like I said in the beginning, the rainbow lines are nothing more than a parallel here in green that is shifted up and down to create these very powerful levels. And I'm telling you that these are extremely accurate at predicting the micro movements of BTC within a cycle. So when extended all the way to the top, you can see that the top red line connects every top of every bull market so far. Then you have the intermediate colors, which are very good support and resistance levels. And then you get down to the purple, which so far has been more or less the bottom of every bear market. And in this current cycle, we failed to get all the way to the red. You can see how great the rainbow lines have been in terms of support and resistance. Because like I told you, the indicator has been released somewhere in 2024. And just look at the precision of the touches of the yellow, of the green. Here we had a perfect support, and here we have a perfect resistance. Then we got perfectly all the way back to the blue. Then we got the perfect resistance at the cyan. Then we went through the blue and then backtested it perfectly once again. And right now we are bouncing off the purple. But if we start to break consistently below the purple, then here is the next level to the downside. It's this gray line here. And I've created it by moving the line all the way back down to the lowest point in BTC's history. In terms of this indicator, so far we have never breached this gray line ever. And right now it's at about 52k, but it's a level that's moving up over time. And for example, in October, it sits at 56k, which is very close to the bottom we made a few weeks ago at 57k. And if I put the wave part of the indicator back on, you can tell how everything coincides for approximately where we are now to be the bottom of this bear market. And at the very least, it's what makes the most amount of sense compared to what we've seen in prior bear markets. And it's quite interesting because in my previous video, we went over how the zone from 55 to 57k seems like a very strong place for the bottom of the bear market. And it coincides with the bottom of the rainbow wave. And not only that, but on the first video on the channel, we looked at when is Bitcoin most likely to bottom. So if you're interested in that, make sure to check them out after this video. Now, what's really nice about this indicator is that even if in the coming weeks, we start to break down, make new lows way lower than where we are now, and break the last line of support here in gray that historically has never been breached, then we would actually still be within the wave bands. And it would simply mean that we would have to create new rainbow lines below. Because once again, the wave has always acted like a magnet for the price of Bitcoin, which means we're pretty close to starting a brand new bull market. And until we start to clearly deviate from the wave for a very long time, I would say that betting against such a strong model is not the most likely scenario. And wherever the bottom is, whether it is right here or we bottom in the next few months, I'm fairly confident that on the way up, these rainbow lines and the wave bands will be extremely valuable at predicting short-term movements, as well as the macro direction of the move. For example, if you start to hit the upper part of the wave, then with this indicator, you would know that it's likely we get a rejection and a cool-off period before we go up again. So I strongly encourage you to subscribe and turn on notifications, because I will notify you whenever we hit an important level on the rainbow wave. And in my opinion, without such a powerful indicator, you are kind of trading blindly. And I say this not only to make you subscribe, but because I've actually changed the values of the lines and the wave compared to what comes with the actual indicator. You can see if I turn on the original indicator here, the lines are not the same. And it's simply because I have adjusted the rainbow levels and the wave bands so that it fits better in terms of price reaction to what's happened in the past. And I'll put the details in the description of how to create the same lines as me. But the simpler thing is just to watch my future videos to be notified whenever we hit an important level on the rainbow wave. So that's it for me. I really hope you enjoyed this video. It was a lot of fun. I think this indicator is really, really powerful. And I think it's quite likely that in the next few years, we'll keep staying within the wave bands. And that's when this indicator will really shine. So thank you all for watching. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. I hope you enjoyed the video. That was Acro. Bye.